All right, guys, welcome back. We're here at AWC TV, episode 13, with the Hayden Baudoin, now senior at Arlington High School. Hayden, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Good. Coach Jermaine, how you made it just in time?
Barely, but I'm here. How you doing, Aiden?
I'm doing good.
So, we talked a little bit about, hey, this is, for a lot of the up-and-comers and our audience to kind of get to know you a little bit. So tell us when you started wrestling.
I started wrestling in the second grade, 1 year after my brother did.
Okay.
What were some of the things that attracted you to wrestling?
I say the main thing that attracted me was the no sham. If you lost, it was white and black. You know why you lost. And then on the flip side, if you won, it's all out there. There's no hiding. There's no, oh, but if this would have happened, it's white and black. Success or failure.
Did your older brother have a part in you wanting to wrestle, or?
Yeah, so he started wrestling, and I was going to all the practices and going to all the tournaments, and I just hated sitting in the stands. I was so bored. So I was like, if I'm going to be here, might as well start wrestling. So that's what kind of got me going.
That's kind of how I got into coaching.
Yeah, while you're here.
Getting out of the stands.
Yep.
So I remember that first year, Hayden. That was the year that AAU would change divisions upon calendar year change. So you would start out. So he started out in one division, and then January rolls around. He moves up a division. I still remember that little redheaded second grader, all scared. He was going up a division halfway through the year, until he realized he was wrestling the same kids, because it happened to all the same kids. So it really didn't make that much of a difference.
Yep.
There was definitely some mindset opportunities. Since then you've had some ups and downs, and you've had some success. So what would you say your best memory has been so far?
Okay, so if we're talking about youth wrestling, I would definitely say the 8th grade state tournament. It was different. I could say that was probably the only time after all my matches, maybe except one, where I could walk off the mat and I said, I did everything. There wasn't a second off where I was like, oh, I'm tired. I knew I only had 6 minutes, so I just gave it all out there.
Yep. It doesn't have to be just middle school. What's your best memory in high school?
My best memory in high school, well, hopefully it's not going to be the one I end with, but I would say maybe Alabama, or I say Alabama because I felt like I had very tough competition there, but I surprised myself. I didn't think I was going to do as well as I did, and I always feels good to surprise yourself.
Okay.
So Hayden, what's the most rewarding part of wrestling for you?
I'd say the most rewarding is the constant tests. Before I started wrestling, I would always wake up, and if you don't know what you can do, you almost have this fear of failure, and the fear of the day, really. You don't want the day to bring something that you can't handle. But with wrestling, it was just constant tests. I knew what I was made of. I kept pushing myself. And then even the days where I suffered and I was hurting, I could see what I was made of when I was down. And so I say this, the test, just constantly knowing what I can do.
Just expanding on that question, how do you prepare yourself for those tests, mentally?
So mentally, to prepare for those tests, you just got to understand that it's all or nothing. If you can't cheat yourself, because if you only go 80% on this test, when you go into real life in the real scenario, all you're going to know is 80% of yourself. So you got to think, this is going to prepare me for something in the future. So if I quit or if I cheat myself now, then when it comes to time in the real world, you're going to cheat yourself in that time. So
You had, from second grade through 8th grade, you leave as a state medalist. Um, what would you say was the biggest thing that you wish you would have known going from middle school to high school?
The biggest thing would be you can always do more than you think you can do.
Yeah.
I had a problem of seeing the hardest worker in the room and thinking that was my limit. So then I would catch up to them, and then next thing I know, I go into high school, and then I compare myself to the hardest worker there. I think what I like to tell myself was to not pay attention to the hardest worker, to pay attention to your limits. Try to become better than what everybody else thinks is the best. You can always do more.
So what was it like going from the club into high school? What was that experience like for you? Can you recall any details?
Yeah, so I would say I was so nervous about the workouts and how physically tough it's going to be, but I was so shocked when I realized that wasn't going to be the hardest part, and it was mostly mental. So what they always expect just 100%, and I feel like I was definitely used to doing 100%. Just I always tried to at the end of practice just know I couldn't do any more. So that wasn't the problem. The problem was you're in this room full of guys who it's all competition, way more than middle school, and you're afraid that just because you lost, that people are gonna think you're weak and stuff. So I mean, I just had to learn to not care about losses and just care about the progress, really.
How do you handle losses? I hope you handle them a lot better than my kids, but it tend to be pretty hard on losses. So what's your mindset after loss?
So I was pretty bad too at first. I mean, I took every loss like I wasn't meant to be there almost. And then I kind of started slowly learning that losses are going to happen. You just can't control those. So what I really started to focus on, and Coach Simpson, we had a meeting and he really drilled this into me, was focus on what you can control, focus on your effort in the match, focus on your focus in the match. So if you really went out and just gave everything you had and you were focused all the time and you lose, it makes the losses hurt way less than if you just tried something and half-assed it and it didn't really work.
Okay. I don't know if I can click that kid-friendly button now.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay. So you're going to your senior year. Obviously, your junior year didn't turn out exactly as planned. What are your goals for yourself, and then what are your goals for your team?
Well, I've been thinking about the goals for me, and I haven't really think I figured it out exactly, but I think an overall answer would be just to surprise myself. Think of my expectations and then make them a little bit higher. And so that's personal. Just try to surprise myself. Try to do something I don't think I could do. But more on a team level, I think I want to definitely place at state. I want to make history.
Yeah.
You know, all these people in front of us made history, and I don't want to stop that now. And I just want to put myself in there and people be like, this guy, he was a senior on the team that finally did this. I think we can do it. I think we have the love for each other and just the overall toughness to do it.
That'll be a picture worth having, a picture of putting that plaque in the trophy case.
Yeah, exactly.
Name up on that, whatever the new building is going to look like.
Yep.
Yeah. Who are you looking at in college, or who's your favorite wrestler out there? Do you kind of idolize or mimic your game after?
I don't know if I can mimic my game very well because they're kind of great. I would say Spencer Lee. I mean, from Iowa, he's a 2-time national champ. He probably would have been a 3rd if the virus didn't happen. Looking to be a 4th. I love the way he seems to have the Iowa toughness and relentlessness, but also has the flashiness of like Penn State or Cornell. Like, he's just the combination, perfect lethal weapon.
Okay. So I know you watch a lot of Flow. So outside of Spencer, who do you really follow, and what are you watching right now?
I've been watching I saw a bunch of Yanni's matches and the Rutherford rivalry and just how they're so different, but can also be so great. I like all the Iowa wrestlers. I've been watching, been looking at the brands and looking at Gable, watching actually a good bit of just how Gable coaches and stuff. And that's what I've been watching really lately.
How do you think Gable compares to Coach Simpson?
I think I don't know. They're similar. They both love just tough wrestling.
Okay.
What do you like about the Iowa wrestling style? What attracts you to it?
The Iowa wrestling style, they understand that when you lose in wrestling, it's embarrassing. It hits your ego. You just went out there and lost, and they hate that. So, and they use that as their advantage. They just want to physically break them, mentally break them before they even sit on the mat. 1 minute into the period, and the Iowa is just nonstop. You don't have time to breathe. You don't have time to think. That's just what I love about it.
Gotcha. So you think about what it would take to grow wrestling. All right. So in your mind, what do you think would get more people out to try out wrestling?
Like on the high school level?
High school, club.
Okay.
Either one.
I would just say people need to take it with more of a sport mentality. I think wrestling is a fight, everybody just thinks it's a fight. It is a fight, but if you can just almost relax with the wins and losses and just say, this is a sport. You're out here to have fun. You're out here to prove something to yourself, not to anybody else.
Right.
Just more relaxed on the wins and losses and more focus on just enjoying yourself.
Okay. That's cool, Tremaine. I left off your favorite one.
What was that?
What's your favorite quote? You have a favorite quote?
Okay, yeah. What's your favorite quote? What do you use to motivate you? Or
my favorite quote? I don't really use quotes. I like to I have a quote on my door actually. It's how can you be merciful to others if you're not merciful to yourself? And that kind of helps me out with I got to realize I was always focused on what other people were thinking. Am I satisfying them in the sense of, am I working hard enough for them? But I just need to sometimes realize, hey man, are you working hard enough for yourself? Are you doing what you need to do? So I think that really just calms me down because I feel like I'm always nervous. I'm always thinking about what's the next thing I'm going to do. And it calms me down right before the match sometimes.
Yeah.
Helps me focus on myself.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And you've recently taken up another sport, help you prepare this off season. You want to tell us anything about your weightlifting?
Yeah. So I started lifting in 8th grade and I just loved it. Lifting in high school, I don't want to say I was naturally good at it, but I felt like I was off very strong. And so with the virus coming and wrestling being postponed for a while, I thought I would just try to compete in the thing that I've been doing so often and I love doing. So I think it has helped me. I think it's given me a lot of confidence because I'm again surprising myself. Mm-hmm. So it's helping me think that I can probably surprise myself in wrestling too.
Okay.
Speaking about lifting weights, what is the strength like, the difference of strength in the club versus going into the high school? Was it a shock for you or you already dialed in?
Well, I knew how strong they were from my brother. He always beat me up. But in the sense of wrestling, exactly. Yeah, it's different. You gotta it helps you out actually, I think, because if you were more reliant on maybe your conditioning or your speed and your strength, that it gets canceled out. And when you're a freshman, you got to focus on your technique because you're not going to beat them any other way besides technique if they're stronger, if they're faster. So it kind of helps you out in a way. It hurts your ego, though. Definitely hurts your ego.
Make you hit the weights a little harder, huh?
Yeah. Gives you some confidence. Yeah. makes you want to motivation, makes you want to go a little bit harder. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Probably on its way.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be about the time I would get stuck in traffic. So what about any questions for us? Do you have any questions about what we do or why we did what we did when you were around, or what's next, anything like that?
Yeah, I got a question. So like, how do you balance the one-on-one with the whole group? Like, do you try to just focus on the whole group's needs all the time? Is it mixed? How do you do that?
I would tell you, we evolve every year. Every year is different. Around the time that you and Gavin were, 7th and 8th graders, you guys were more of a focus. How do we, when we understand what your goals are, we can put a plan in place that's catered more towards some of the older kids. All right. So we want to leave and give you the best opportunity to meet your goal. I will tell you, over time, we developed a practice plan every year based on who's in the room and what they like to hit. Last year we put a little bit more into the plan that I knew that Hunter liked to hit, because Hunter's very good on 2-on-1, wanted to get back to a 2-on-1. I know that Coach Tremaine kids really, really like some wings and bars, so we added more wings and bars to our plan. We actually developed, 5 or 6 series this year that the kids really, really took to. In practice, you balance it out. We try and move around to the different kids and make sure they've got something to work on, right? Either they've got their goals, or they've got, somebody that's in their sights. But it's just like the high school too. We tend to focus more on who sticks around and who's asking questions. The kids that are farthest from the coaches are the ones that really, don't want as much coach interaction. They want to kind of go do their own thing, and we'll allow it to a certain extent. But it's a balancing act where you just kind of have to make sure you're spending time with each person and make sure they're working on their thing. The heavyweights, they're going to have something different to go work on over here. The middleweights are going to have some technique they're going to work on over here. And the little guys, for the most part, Tremaine, our little guys really, really took off this year. They just absorbed everything. And this was a different year where we had, 30 kids in that advanced group, which is the most we've ever had. In what's, what you used to know as the gold team.
Yeah.
First year we actually let, I think, 2nd graders were the youngest in the group that really, really just took to everything. So at that point, they're just kind of figuring out their style and what they like.
Would you rather the team or the group be more adaptive to you, or would you rather be adaptive to what the team's doing? Like who?
Each person's gonna be different. I remember, TJ is one example I remember for him very clearly. It was at Dixie Nationals. He hit this beautiful blast double. And I remember talking to Tremaine after. I was like, hey, he needs to start watching some Jordan Burroughs, because that's where he's at right now. That's his thing. But what we worked on with TJ wasn't going to work for a Gabe. A Gabe was, Gabe has a different style of wrestling, so his strategy is going to be different. I'm not going to give too much away, but he had a specific plan when he went out there to get to his stuff, because he didn't have that same speed that TJ did. Tyrez, even you think about Tyrez, even Tyrez is much better, much lower. He has a slightly different approach. So each kid, as we get to know them and we spend time with them, will have a different strategy. And we talk about that strategy. We do a lot more goal planning and strategy discussions than we ever did. Just to make sure the kids do that. Is that about right, Tremaine? Or?
I think you're pretty spot on. But it's definitely a balancing act, especially when you start trying to coach the younger kids and trying to keep their attention and not over-instructing, allowing some time for them to kind of be free. I think that's important so you can keep them around for a while. Because if you keep trying to punch it in, after a while, after an hour, those kids are pretty much zoned out. Yeah. So
want kids that have to be exposed to a wide variety of technique, at least, even if it's not their technique, they understand how it works. And when someone tries to execute it on them, they understand how to defend it, how to move.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but each person is going to have something slightly different that they're focused on. That comes from a year-round program. We're able to see that and work on those things, especially, things are up in the air right now, right? But, this time of year is when we would actually sit down and spend more time taking a step back, less harder drilling, and more detailed.
Yeah.
That's where the development really happens.
Yeah, that's definitely important, to making sure, it could be a long season for the kids. So we had to kind of bring along a hard stop for some of the kids so that we can get them to come back, because we found out that some of them were just getting, I don't want to say burnt out, but just losing their focus. So, you kind of got to treat each kid differently, and also, rely on the parents to have an honest conversation. Or is my kid getting burned out? Should I stop him now? Is it about getting the state championship, or just keeping them around for a while? So,
it's important to know them so that you know what they like, so you can keep doing what they like. Because if they do what they like, they're going to get better at it. They're not going to want to not be there.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
For sure. Good question.
A lot of kids who, I read some statistics. I think like 90% of kids will drop out of, sports at the age of 13. And a lot of that is because they're not doing what they want. They lost the fun in the sport. So you gotta have that balance, and have those honest conversations with the kids. Don't just show up for dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Good question, Hayden. What else you got?
I don't know. I think I'm good, actually.
Okay. Good stuff.
You have any questions for me? Any more questions for me?
Tremaine, do you have anything else?
No, definitely appreciate you, coming on and spending some time with us. Hopefully we get to see you this year perform and reach all your goals. If you can, keep coming back, giving back to the kids. They really look forward to seeing, high school kids, because I don't know what it is about seeing a high school kid, man. It's just, gives them motivation. So I got a good feeling that you're going to do good this year. It's, hopefully we'll wrestle again this year.
I know. I'm hoping.
Yeah. We're going to find a way for sure. Yeah. Again, same thing that Tremaine said. Thanks for coming on, Hayden. Spend some time, give back to somebody else any chance you get, because it adds to the legacy of Arlington Wrestling. So really appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Hayden.
No problem.
Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right.